All right, welcome back, everyone. So this go round, I decided to take on some of the cargo missions, and I decided to grab a group of them, and I grabbed 9. So the goal here is to try to find missions that are similar, maybe get you starting at a home place, and then have you come back around to that home place by dropping off other things. So they do kind of allow you to chain them. And unfortunately, I didn't. The PTU went down, so I wasn't able to actually complete it, but I was pretty close to it. It was going to take about 2 hours though. And for an income of about 115K, some would say maybe not worth. That being said too, sorry, not 115, 151K. But that being said, they are lower level missions. So it's possible that doing this kind of at the end of the day could be a lot better if once you get to the higher reps. So yeah, let's get into it. So the big challenge here is going to be what size ship you have. So I'm in the M2. Having an M2 or access to a C2 Caterpillar, stuff like that is going to obviously make this easier. But so the big goal here is to work around Cruel L1, L4, and L5 and Seraphim Station, and then make my way back. I'm starting at Seraphim Station. I'm going to pick up a number of things, mostly stems and some other items. I think some food and some ice. And then make my way over to, I'm going to start with L1, and then I'll make my way over to ultimately to 5 and L4 as well. And so the logistics here is pretty important. And I did run into a problem with this. And so you can see here, I've got things kind of set up and they're kind of grouped. I don't exactly I have the stops kind of grouped up. So in the very back here, I have L1 all ready to go. And then towards the front, I have the first and second part of Cruel L4 and L5. So the thing I ran into that was a problem, and I think logistics is going to be so key to trying to do these, but the first thing I really ran into, and I didn't know till this testing, was that it cares what pack of stems and stuff like that you're actually dropping off. So that's the first challenge I kind of ran into. What I mean by that is it doesn't just want 2 SCUs of stems, it wants the actual box of stems it's supposed to go for that particular mission, which is a little frustrating. It should just take 2 SCUs of stems. Even if I had to actually go buy 2 SCUs of stem to make up for lost box or something like that, I mean, it should just take 2 SCUs. It shouldn't require the exact box that should go with that particular mission. Initially as well, I was originally only loading just 1 mission's worth to drop down, but then I got more comfortable and I decided to load all of it at once and just send it all down. And that was obviously much more fruitful. Yeah, I ended up sending these 3 boxes down, but if you look very briefly, you'll see that these boxes don't all have check marks. When I get ready to send it down, just the one SCU one does. So I didn't notice that until obviously later on when it mattered. But I'm going to kind of hover over the 3 SUs that are supposed to be delivered here. I put 3 SUs in there. However, it only took the 1 because the 2 SU box was not the right one. So I had to pull it back out. I ended up having to go back to the M2 and pulling all of the 2 SU stem boxes out. The other ones that were supposed to go to L4 and L5 as well with the other separate missions. So I had 2 missions for stems. And so that's where I didn't have the right stems for the right mission. So at least there's multiple options there, but it's just something to be aware of logistically. You need to kind of keep everything together as far as the kind of the orders, if you will, when you get ready to put this all together. And I think that's going to help too with stuff like the Caterpillar where it has multiple bays. In this case, there's multiple kind of segments in something like the M2 and the C2, but the Caterpillar and stuff could really shine here. Even stuff like the Raft where there's multiple kind of bay sections where you can keep everything separated. So at this point, we're at L5 and I'm going ahead and putting everything in. Also, again, I'm paying more attention to the check marks as I deposit these, but I did put just all the stems in there this go around. That way it would just take what it wanted. And then from there, I would take out what I needed, what was left over. Essentially, I would take it to L4. That being said, that's not ideal, right? So that's not the kind of, so this here I am, I'm pulling back out the stems that it didn't take, which is not logistically sound. Again, you'll just be kind of going into it unless they fix this. You'll need to kind of know, and it would be good to kind of keep the orders separate. I actually do when I'm getting ready to load. I actually keep the orders separate that way. I'll definitely take more time with that. Just it kind of saves the headache and it can save you time as well in the long run. So that's kind of stuff we'll just have to get used to and work towards. And then again, something like the Caterpillar would be great to open up one of the particular cargo bays, throw everything in there that you know has to go to that particular station, relevant to which missions and which stems or whatever kind of commodities you got with you, and then open the next bay for the next location, so forth and so on. And then I did keep a spreadsheet for this. I don't feel the need to really show that. I just kind of was taking notes. I wanted to take notes on how much I was going to make, and I wanted to take notes a little bit on time, and I wanted to take notes with what needed to go where. And really for me, all I needed to do was note which of the L1, L4, L5 needed certain commodities. And then I didn't actually put anything down for those that need to return to Seraphim, because I just checked at the station. If it had cargo, it needed to go to Seraphim. So I just threw that stuff in the M2 and I kept it towards the back, because at the end of the day, once I was done, I was going to unload that all from the back and into Seraphim. Additionally, something you can kind of note as well, you can kind of, especially with these larger ships, you can kind of tilt it to a 45-degree angle and have the front and the back towards the both different areas, so you can have access to both the freight elevators. At least for the C2 and the M2, I imagine the Caterpillar, you would just park near it, or you would park the same way and you just use the front bays or the back bays, relevant to which freight elevator you're closest to. But yeah, here at the end, I do go ahead and complete all of the missions, all the drop-offs. So I'm done with the L1, L4, and L5 drop-offs. At this point, it's just gathering everything up and dropping it back to Seraphim. I got pretty good rep here. You can see I'm a good way through the junior ranking there. And this is just for a few missions. I was at the N kind of letter there. You have to kind of, there's no actual percentage or bar, so you have to kind of sometimes I use the words or whatever to kind of gauge where I'm at. At any rate, I got a fair amount of rep, and I'm looking forward to see, hopefully this rep is, PTU rep could be quicker, so it's hard to say if that's the amount of rep amount you would get, rep points. Anyways, we'll have to see how that plays out, but yeah. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about payment as well, but let's just kind of wrap up here. Other thing I ran into, so the first thing you have to kind of be aware of is, again, if you have two missions with the same commodity, you have to drop the box in there that's for that same mission. Unfortunately, it's not the same commodity. It has to be the exact same box. So that's not to be aware of. When you're loading stuff in, you'll see check boxes. If it's not the right box, if you have multiple 2 SCU boxes and you have to go to 2 different locations with 2 different missions, then you have to double check and make sure it has a check mark. Additionally, here you can see the stems came back up. I had already completed the mission, so I was actually going to take these stems. They already paid me for them. So I was actually going to try to sell these contraband. They would be contraband, so I don't know if they'd actually allow me to sell them or not. But I was actually going to try to take these stems over and sell them, or see if I could at least sell them, because they're contract loot that essentially was accepted as taken, but yet they came back up on the elevator. So I'll never know, because I 30K'd because the PTU did upgrade to a different patch, and so that session ended and I can't get back in there. Also, again, I didn't get to complete this technically, but I was very close to it. All I had to do was get back to Seraphim and unload everything, and I would have been good to go. That being said, yes, so some things to note. I really wish the income was maybe a little bit better here. I'm always a stickler for that, but honestly, I feel like you would have needed probably like a Caterpillar to do this. I don't think even a Mercury Starboarder could have done this. It's hard to say. I didn't really keep track of how many SUs you actually needed, but I felt like the Caterpillar is probably the entry level, and that's 200. I'm pretty sure that was 200 per day for you, 200K. And I was only going to make 151K out of this. So, and for 2 hours of work, I don't know. Again, we're a bunch of, largely this is going to be space dads. I mean, it's going to be people that are in their 20 or 30s probably playing this game. They have limited time to play. I think really taking a look at, I get it. It's an MMO. You want to make it so that you have to kind of grind or do things to actually earn the ship. But at the same time, we're all getting too old to like be grinding too terribly long. It just is what it is. That's where we're at with this current day and age, mixed with this where we're at like in life. So I get it. I'm maybe speaking out of turn on that, but I do feel like that's the current situation. I think that there needs to be an amount of income and amount of game time fun that you can make within a couple hours and make it worthwhile. At least be able to get your ship's rental feedback within a couple hours. Maybe let the this is kind of, maybe cut the cost, but actually let them, not only you get the cargo, but you also get the ship as well. That would be really interesting too. Being able to pick some missions that include the ship, and the ship's already loaded. Oh, how cool would that be? Yeah, I'll kind of do this really quickly. I was really thinking at the end of the day that it needs to be either loaded or unloaded by either the buyer or the seller on one way or the other. So I think that it needs to be automatically loaded or unloaded by one of the parties without it being yourself. And so I think that's how they kind of fix this. I don't know if they'll do that in the future, but as a salvager, we already have to deal with a lot of boxes because we have to go process what we've got as far as salvage is concerned. So I'm pretty used to this, but at the end of the day, it would be nice to get it automated one way or the other. So anyways, here's my 30K, but appreciate y'all taking time to check out the video, and I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.